kamata su kashi ya fito yi iska ba? Ka gane in wa'ancan sarakunan suka fafita rihe gudan za su yi da sauran sai su ba mutane can ba sa tafiya. Ka gane magana ne? Ka gano kamara ta adalta. Mawai da mutane sun san kansa.
Yau kuma na ina.
Ai ni ne mamaki a cikin su kike wasu yau kuwa yau ya shiru ya shiru.
Ai sallai. Ina gaya ma muna nan duka muna nan an sa mu cikin helifad amma kuma duka ba abin da wanda ya sa abin da yake a waje. Ta zo. Na sa da karfe 5 a nan ka ga maka yan jarida su kansu ba za su iya baka labari. Ni da ba ga muna. Wallahi ba abin da wannan zai baka ina gab da yanki yanki yasa wallahi Allah ya wanda ba kai daga ce wallahi sana kuna yin ka shiga kuma su kan an ce wai a fita kuma sun rasa hanyar fita su kan wallahi su kan su hanyar fita ba su yi organizer abin ba ya tuta muna nan mu ne ga muna sun sa sarauta Allah
ai ba wannan bane wannan nan cikin da ake na cikin can ai da shigo ga nan ku kashi aka wannan shigo wannan
assalamu alaikum wallahi ina can amma ina
wannan gwamna abin da
wace ba mu karami abu ne kawai Allah ya hankali ai yanzu ba ya sallako da duwani ya zo kun za ku daga gaya mana wannan muna sawa
ya shi cikin zaman ai da mangan ne da markas
ina tare da su ba a kan mic ne ke yasa Baba, ai sallan ne?
Za a fara.
Sallan za a yi a can waje? Yanzu muka bi da su. Ya ce ce an kulle ba. Kai ne kakar dama za mu tambaye ka. An kulle ba. Kai kake ganin wanda bai ganuwa. Kai ke kallon kowa. An kulle ba na kulle. Wanda yake ma da hidima maka shigo ya kare mana.
Bari ba su kana. Security. yana kallon shi ne ke sai ji magana shi ba a yi ba kuna take ke voice ne kake ina ga a yanzu dai za mutum sai waje.
Kasa sahun.
Sai a rika waya a hannu.
Dama na so a yan karama ce ni na to ma da ita. Daman ajiye abuna ne na to da wata kagaci. Layi ne kawai zan da.
An fara da sau.
za a yi sallah zo mu je nan mu sallah
an fara ne amma ni ba fara ba laifin ka ne wuta
ai baya gano
laifin ya bi mu Allahu Akbar. An gama.
samu gama daga bukatan ma
samu cika.
Okay, that was the funeral prayer led by the Chief Imam of Daura and attended by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in honor of late President Muhammadu Buhari. And the place was, the helipad was too full that the funeral had to be conducted outside and with the remains inside the because of the there. And ambulance is now being moved out of the premises or the surrounding of the helipad to the residence of the late leader, where he'll be laid to rest within the courtyard of that private residence here in Daura. Attracted where he lived. He lived a significant portion of his life here, especially when he left the military and after leaving office as president, the 15th president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Indeed, the people of Daura are in a state of mourning, though it's a national mourning. There is 7 days declared by the president as days of mourning flags are flying at half-mast, and all ministries, departments and agencies directed to open condolence register at the entrances of their various offices in honor of the great leader who is now receiving the final respect from the nation he served for several decades, because he joined the military in 1962, so he has been serving the country for more than 6 decades. 1962 to 2025 is exactly 63 years. Now the President, Vice President, Emir of Daura, ministers and all dignitaries are moving towards the residence of former President Muhammadu Buhari, which is located not far away from this helipad here in Daura. It's about 250 meters away from this place, and it is there within the courtyard he will be laid to rest, which is the final respect in his honor. And the 7-day mourning continues till Sunday next weekend. And the third day Fidel prayer is expected to be held tomorrow morning, that is Tuesday, at his private residence, and is expected to be attended by the Vice President Kasa Shettima, who has been with the family of the deceased, together with the Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila. And the prayers is part of the morning, is an additional activity after the funeral prayers to seek Allah's mercy and forgiveness upon a deceased person. And of course, thousands of people are here and join in doing so, and more are expected to do it again at the Fidel prayer, which with Vice President Kashim Shettima, who representing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on that occasion. Now we are expecting to see if our colleagues can get it, the location of the burial within the courtyard of his private residence here in Daura.
Lots of off records, man.
Lots.
Sure.
The prayers have been concluded as supervised by the chief imam there, and then of course the Emir of Daura present also, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Vice President Kashim Shettima, all witnessed the prayer, and now the movement is to the family compound of the late president, and where he will be buried at his courtyard. I was seeing shots of his final resting place on your left there. That's where the remains are being awaited by members of his family, close associates, as well as dignitaries who have come to witness the exercise. Sometimes religion humbles you. After traversing the whole world, you come back and then you see the final resting place, then you know that man is just on a journey.
Yes.
Dr. Sanusi.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think, this is deliberate. God wants us to understand that this life is transient, and that, as he has written in various holy books, there is a life after this life, and do not try to make this life your final abode by, acquiring what you don't require. If you look at the final resting place of our former beloved president, Muhammadu Buhari, you see that it's just a small square inch of dog, place, soil for him, to rest eternally. This is also a lesson for everyone, really, whether you are in office, whether you're a big man, whether you are, just a poor person. We are all going to die. Every soul shall taste death, and that will be your final resting place. Everything you've acquired, all the houses, all the vehicles, all the money that we all strive for, you're not going with anything. Yeah, you're only just going to go there with your legacy, your good deeds, and all the shortcomings that you have. And at the end of the day, you account to your Creator. So there's a big lesson there for people that think. But then it's just we sit down and just sorrowfully talk about these things. But by the time the president is laid to rest, after 2-3 days, everybody will just go about their normal business again, which is also a lesson in itself that just like late President Buhari lived his life, he didn't really care about what people were saying. He had a focus, he had his principles and his legacy that he wanted to leave behind. And he knew that at the end of the day, he would be alone. So if he cared about what people said and he did things that were not right, now he's alone. He's now with his Creator. He now has to account. So we shouldn't toe that part of, doing what's wrong just to please human beings. We should also always strive as individuals, as leaders, to be fair and firm, to stand on what's right, and then at the end of the day, you know that you are going to account for it.
All right, we're seeing former governor of Nasarawa State there, Alhaji Tanko Almakura. All of them are moving into the compound of the former president to give him a befitting farewell as the funeral burial rites are about to commence. Earlier we saw the governor of Borno State, Professor Umar Babagana Zulum, also getting into the compound there, and we are waiting the president as well, who will also be at the burial site as well, and close associates and members of his immediate family are there as well, including the governor of Katsina, who has been welcoming people into Katsina State and now the compound. As you can see, that's the final resting place of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Like Dr. Sanusi said earlier, from the big residence of the villa and different places around the world, for man, at the end of the day, it's not much more than just the size of your body laid to Mother Earth. And politicians there as well will know that what remains of the dearly departed president are his works and the mark he left on the various places he worked and people he impacted upon. Dr. Kinshiju.
So that's the Holy Bible tells us, that it's good to go to a place of burial, than to go to a place of celebration, because when you are partaker in such, you understand the imputation of existence itself and the reason for life. That it's a reminder to all humans alive that one day we will depart. How we depart will also be determined by ourselves. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how we departed, there's just a small space for us, in the ground, and that it is a memory of what we have done It is the numbers of people we have impacted. It is how the extent to which we have developed, if we are empowered, develop our environment that people would remind us about. Because the reality, and as we are seeing, is that life itself is not about, it's not in the assets we acquire. It is actually in the number of people that fondly remember us, And perhaps this has a way, I am not a prophet, I am not so religious, but I believe that this has a way of also following whoever departs this world into the other world that I also believe in. If you had impacted people very well, especially where you had been a beneficiary of the collective. And I'm saying, for instance, you represent the interest of people in your constituencies, in your local governments, in your country. You are the custodian of the aspirations, the needs of these millions of people, these multiple numbers of people. In what way have you been able to serve the purpose for which they have invested in you? And that perhaps makes politics, in my mind, perhaps the most strongest, the highest, the climax, the peak of all responsibility required of humans, Because at every point in time, in the gathering of people, there will be leadership that are supposed to serve the needs of the people. And we are the people that invested their trust, their confidence in you. How have you been able to return to deliver, their expectations and all that? We sit there today, Howards, and it's not just in this studio alone, and I'm very sure studios in various parts of this country, perhaps various parts of the world, talking about this great man, because in different ways he had impacted us. And some of us can actually stick out our neck and say that in truth and indeed, we testify to the fact that this man lived like this and as this. But how many politicians that had walked the face of the heart of Nigeria can we also reference, and give testimony to about this? So we pray that as we evolve as a country, as a nation, that we have more people that would determine, to give more of themselves to the people, especially when they find themselves in position of responsibilities. And it's not just about politics, even in the civil service, either at the federal level, at the state level, at the local government level, It's important that essentially we have the determination to serve, and indeed to serve in deed and in truth.
Who's the first to Fifen?
Doc has said it all. There is a quote from my pastor in those days as a growing up younger man, that I would die empty. It means that when it is time for me to go, there will be nothing that I should have done that I did not do. Looking at that grave, I took note of the firewood. Did you see the piece of wood?
Yes,
there?
That's what they used to call it.
Yes, with all the glamour, with everything. I've been to that compound. I know how big the compound is. And if you look at the size of the grave, it's an inconsequential fraction of the whole of the compound. And this is a man, he died in London. He was flown here to Katsina, to Daura, even to his compound, and now he's ending somewhere there. So the question should now be, with all these our bragado, as it were, to what end? I'm a journalist. I've done that for a couple of years, and I can tell you how some people. Doc made a statement that, especially if you were made by the collective, that is, some that enjoyed scholarship, some that the state trained, they are the ones that will now oversee a system where the children of the rich can no longer afford that same education or afford the basic necessities of life. When you finish all this, let's even assume that you are not a Muslim, your grave might not be like this, but we still have the normal standard of 6 feet, and it will not be too big. The best you can get is to have a tomb house over you, and the tomb house too is not also a very big building. So at the end of it, we will end somewhere. So now that we are alive, to those that are serving, to those that are reporting, to those that are holding one position or the other, you will either be remembered by the problems you created or the ones that you solve. So it is a time for us to look inward, look at ourselves, look at the positions that we have been given in the past, how we used it, look at the position that we are currently occupying, and for some of us that are also aspiring to have positions, what will you do when you eventually get there? Dr. Ruben Abati, I remember he wrote something when he left with President Jonathan. He said, the phones are no longer ringing, meaning that when you leave that position, this your larger-than-life attitude, thinking that you have everything, thinking that you are in control of everything, will no longer be there. And at the end of the day, it will just be you, what you have done, and that little grave where you will end. And for those of us that believe in the life hereafter, you also account to your Creator how you spent your time. So it's actually a time of sober reflection, not for the dead anymore, because he is done with his own. It's for those of us that are still left, and nobody is going to leave this world alive. I remember a colleague that wrote part of the tribute he wrote for President Buhari. He said, oh, you have gotten there. The rest of us are on the way. We are coming. And somebody said, why would you write something like that? He said, for each day you wake up, you sleep, you wake up, you are getting closer to your grave. And that is the truth. So whatever privileged position you have, the power that you have, make a difference while you still can make that difference. I don't like this part. As a journalist, when you interview people that have occupied offices before, you see them talking about some of their regrets, some of the things they were supposed to do. Some of them will even be encouraging the incumbent. This is what you should have done. But we normally ask them, while you were there, why didn't you do it? If you know that this is right, you should have done it while we were there. But give and take is a lesson to every one of us. And we pray that this will also serve as a lesson. The highest position in Nigeria is the position he has occupied, not once, but twice. And he was also a governor and some other positions that he had in this country. So if you can get to the position of a president of the Federal Republic, and at the end, that is where you are buried, no matter who you are in this country, no matter the money you have made in this country, one day you will also go this way, and you'll be remembered by the legacies that you leave behind. So it's actually a sober time for every one of us. And we hope that those of us that are still breathing can learn from this, not just to participate in talking about Buhari. Buhari has finished his own. It is left for us now to also use the time that we have left, so that when we also leave, people can say good things about us. It might not be in this setting where the world is saying one or two about the president, but in that your little corner, also make sure that you make your impact felt, and people also celebrate you.
Dr. Korede Martins.
Yeah, I'd like to say to my brother, not to worry, your appointment is on the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, the man Muhammadu Buhari, he came, he saw, he has conquered. He has left the stage for you, I, and us, collective. The stage is there for us to continue, act the roles that we are performing. And the end, it doesn't matter, number of decades to come, the end shall still come for this mortal body with time. So what will determine where you end up will be your activities as your relationship with the fellow human beings, what you do actually. So let's make it positive, let's make it goodly, let us make it, a rewarding relationship between us and fellow human beings. And by the special grace of the Almighty, the hereafter, positivity, Al-Jannah shall be our portion.
All right, Doctor, let's look at, politically. We've been talking of 10 million, 8 million, 10 million, 8 million that he returned in many of, even 12 million, that he returned in many of those elections. Is that movement still on, or is it just about the man?
Well, the movement to a large extent, I'd say, is still on. We cannot say 100% that it's there, because recently you find some actors, try to shift base and form a, quote-unquote coalition. That is the actors in 2015. Some of them, very few though. But with the governance structure of the current administration, the Buhari movement and the Renewed Hope movement, agenda movement, forms now a larger political group, a larger political force that will, pave way to improving upon the political gains and the numeracy of those that voted Muhammadu Buhari. So the movement is still on. It's larger. Positive democratic political force is on. We believe in Buhari, and we're carrying on with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR.
I may have to pose the same question to, Dr. Kinshiju. Do you still believe in that bloc, or are there splinters based on political realities?
Of course, there are splinters. We are tracking them. Because the truth is that whatever Buhari does is our heritage. The Buhari movement itself is a political heritage, and some of us that are also politically inclined claim it. We determine that we are part of it. And more consciously is the fact that we have a continuation of that heritage in the present government, federal administration led by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And why I say that is because essentially and in profound ways, either so many people agree or not, it is evolving for us to understand the reality of an ideologically driven political environment, which these two people share, So if we describe Buhari as a social democrat, we describe Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a social democrat. And we see a congruence of sorts in the policies they believe in the policy they have conceptualized under different circumstances, but essentially we are seeing that it dovetails to the people. And that's the most important thing. And therefore, if Buhari's immediate objective was to, of course, elevate the economic standing of millions of people that found themselves in the poverty community, and it is also becoming clear, that Tinubu's principal objective is in a bigger way to also elevate this large number of people, onto away from the poverty community. So there's a coalition of thought, and I'm deliberately using the word coalition here because that become perhaps the most popular cliché, as it were, in the Nigerian political lexicon over the last how many weeks. I'm abused in the real sense of it, because when you talk about coalition, you're talking about a convergence of thoughts, a convergence of activities of a number of people who have an objective, to achieve. The merger of starting 2013 and crystallized in 2015 tells us a story of how people from different diverse political leanings could come together and under a single individual form a political direction that drives towards a principal, objective. And we are talking about APC today because there are reference milestones that party, that group of people had, survived. There have been turbulence, there have been storms, But we see that rather than threats of destruction, we are seeing a stronger, unified platform. And while some people that, perhaps we also talk politics here, while some people are trying to compare the merger of 2015, crystallized in 2015, with the coalition of 2025, I asked, what exactly is the basis for that comparison? One, the driving forces that culminated in the 2015, what do you call it, merger, is lacking in the coalition we are seeing. In that merger, we saw the fact that politicians from different leanings, from different proclivity, were coming as a result of dissatisfaction with the policies that were being conceived and implemented at the federal level, you know. And you saw not just ordinary people who were disgruntled, who could not access power. You saw people who were in power, determined to change things. And perhaps that was why change became, you know, the reference phrase of that era. So, to a large extent, I believe that the Nigerian political space is still deserving of the vision of Buhari, because you have that millions of people that desires leadership, you know, of the kind of class that Buhari was was ready to give. And I think in a large manner, and I'm not just being partisan here, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has determined to also provide, or even, it's not even about provide. If we track back to President Tinubu's period in Lagos State, and we can reference what he did as governor, you know, it's easy for us, of course, to extrapolate and situate that at the federal level and determine the fact that from where Buhari left, this president is taking off. And is going to take off with those 12 million voters. And this will reflect in 2027. I am sure of that. Because those voters will be looking out for somebody that will crystallize their aspirations, you know. Look at some of these policies in place, especially the tax acts. When you see the tax acts, it tells you without any doubt the fact that you had somebody who is the head of a sovereign administration ready to impact the lives of the Nigerian poor. Because that's what the tax act is all about. It's not about increasing revenue. Yes, we generate revenue, increase revenue, but it's more about elevating the economic status of millions, more than 30% of the Nigerian people that are limited in the economic class. So I believe the nature of politics that we will experience going into 2027 will be very, very, very different, you know, from the ones we have been experiencing before. Because this is not going to be about 12 million votes plus. So.
All right, we'll soon we are looking at live pictures from Daura, the streets leading to the residence of the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, late President Muhammadu Buhari. Very shortly, we would give you live pictures from the grave site as Nigerians and eminent Nigerians, family members enter into the compound. As once we get steady pictures from there, naturally there will be some push and shove as you are getting closer to, you know, the grave site. We showed you pictures from the grave site, but very shortly we would be back there once our cameramen get steady shots from there. But this is just the street outside the fence of the house, and then we'll get better pictures shortly. As you can see, outside broadcast vans from different media establishments also trying to get a vantage point to capture the moment. While we reflect on this, Doctor, this is just a day, but it is perhaps to reflect on the entire life of a man who has served the nation, in some cases made some controversial comments himself and handled controversial situations